All right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another episode of How I Met Your Mortgage. I'm being told this is season 3, episode 5, which I see I have incorrect in our broadcast here. I think I put it down as season 4, and we haven't gotten quite that far, but we'll certainly get that fixed as well. And with us, as always, is our marketing director, Jen Waybower. Good morning, Jen.
Morning.
And our guest this week, some old, and I'm not going to say how old, but some old friends and colleagues, Justin and Piper Knoll. And guys, we're really excited to have you here this morning. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
We're excited to be here.
Yeah, this is going to be a lot of fun. I'm going to not be too surprised at how quickly 30 minutes whips by. But our usual MO, and I obviously know a lot of this stuff, is to give our audience some insight, some feedback as to how you guys got started. Good morning, Greg. Hi, Ramona. Glad you guys are joining us. Hopefully we'll get through a lot of those introductions. But Justin, why don't you start? Because you've actually been doing real estate a hair longer. I know that Piper has a entire previous career to entertain us with, where a lot of the content is similar when it comes to lead generation and client retention and those kinds of things. But Justin, tell us about you. How long have you been doing real estate?
Yeah, it's funny. This is my 20th year being licensed. I like to say it's a lifetime. I'm fourth generation realtor, so I grew up in a real estate family. Great grandfather, grandparents, mother, aunts, uncles, cousins. I can't get out of this. So this is what I grew up with as a kid. I grew up sitting in the car while mom was showing properties or going on a listing appointment. I answered the phone when they were calling the house for information on the house for listings she had. There were no cell phones. So our house was the office when the office was closed. So, but yeah, this is my 20th year being licensed. I've done pretty much, I don't know what else I can do in real estate.
So you don't actually have a previous career. You don't even really have a previous job other than really kind of being an agent assistant.
Yeah. It's been a weird run. I did work at Guard Sports for a little while. I was a cabinet maker, but there were never any questions about what I was going to be doing.
That's a flashback, Guard Sports. Haven't heard that one in a while.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to embarrass you here and tell you that was actually my parents' first job.
There you go.
Yeah, they worked at the sports castle.
Yeah, I worked at the Buckingham one. That's how old this is.
Okay. Wow, Buckingham. Haven't heard that term in a while either. All right. And Piper, tell us about your background, because you haven't been doing real estate for 20 years, because frankly you would have had to start when you were 4, which is fine. But obviously when you and I met, which is probably a similar time frame ago, you were doing something else.
Yeah, so I've been in real estate for 15 years licensed, coming up on 15 years. But before I was really full-time in real estate, I worked for an insurance agency. And that's really where I got my foundation of really good service, really good processes, and really good follow-up. So that foundation has really made me build a very good system, process, business at this point.
Okay. And boy, I really thought I was exaggerating when I said that I've known you guys 20 years, and I'm not exaggerating. I've really known you guys almost 20 years. Oh, geez. Okay. And Piper, if memory serves, that was captive, right? You were working for a captive company. I want to say Allstate.
Yep, I worked for Allstate. Before that, years before, I worked at State Farm. So I have experience with a couple of different brands.
Okay. And obviously, this is a really big deal because our platform here at Just the Tip certainly covers a lot of real estate agents, a lot of mortgage originators, but we do see a lot of insurance agents benefit from it. Certainly financial planners, even a few high-end car sales guys. So I suspect that the content that you'll be able to give our audience today is going to translate nicely between both of those platforms. So that should be really, really cool stuff for our audience this morning. So again, thank you guys for joining us. Tell us a little bit about the current platform. You guys are both working for the same company. You're working together. Let's not let the names confuse our audience. You guys are a fairly recently married couple. Got married at Coors Field, what, 3 years ago?
A couple years ago.
A couple years ago?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like a couple years ago.
Okay, well, the photos were fantastic, so obviously that drew a lot of attention, including from us. So it's ingrained in our minds how Justin and Piper got married at Coors Field. Obviously, not all that common. So tell us what you guys do now. You work as a team, and where are you?
Yeah, so interestingly enough, some things have shifted for us. I've spent a good part of my career on the kind of the management and brokerage side, really running the three-legged stool of a residential brokerage: recruit, retain, and drive production. And so I become really good at those certain aspects of the brokerage business. And it was last year I decided to step back and do more coaching, consulting. I'm starting to do stuff with local realtor associations and state realtor associations, which is a kind of a segment of my world that I've gotten into. But coaching individual agents and teams is really more of my focus. I don't get into the day-to-day grind of buyers and sellers and dealing with inspections and lenders. No offense, but it's just not
None
where I'm
taken.
great. She is far better at it than I am. So where I kind of stay is on the business side, that 30,000 foot level of running a business. Our team, the Knoll team, we've got six people on the team now. And so I kind of stay high level, coach our agents, give some direction, run the kind of the business workings, if you will, and in the direction of the team as a whole. And then Piper really can get into what she does. But we're very systematic, very process driven. She's in the trenches daily with clients, with our agents on the transaction side, and it's really nice. We spend a lot of time going back and forth on how we can improve systems and processes and really add a level of service. We are high level service nerds. Like, we seek it out. If there's somewhere great, a restaurant, a store, something that offers high level service, we're absolutely exploring that. We want to use that as how we can, kind of add to our value to clients and the public. So,
All right, so hang on. There are a few things that I want to reiterate.
yeah.
Give us those three pillars of running a team again: production, retention, recruiting, retention, and production. Is those were the ones?
Yeah, recruit, retain, and drive production. So the lifeblood is that recruiting side, bringing fresh people in, fresh perspective. Sometimes re-recruiting who you already have, maybe establishing a new lane that they need to stay in, or maybe their skill set works a little bit better somewhere else. That can be a re-recruiting if you kind of think of it that way. The retention side is just making sure people are happy, that they're feeling like they're part of something. I'm big on culture. There's three things to culture that I always preach, and that's got to have a safe work environment. If my voice heard, is there somewhere I can go talk and, you know, lay out what my thoughts are and be heard and actually have things executed? The second piece of that, is there a clear vision from leadership on where the organization is going? And then the third is, can you help me reach my full potential? And so I think all those kind of play into that recruit, retain, and drive production. We spend a lot of time with that on our team. We do a lot of events. We do volunteering together. And, we like to spend time together. I think it brings culture, and that makes the recruiting, retention, and driving production that much better.
All right, and we're certainly big on it. Our office culture is priority number one, no question. In fact, Jen, I see are you digging for the magazine. We just published an article in National Mortgage Professional about hiring to match your company culture, which is obviously a very, very big deal. And before we get too far down the road on the third one, I want for the audience to understand that you guys have a really successful team. You guys do a good number of transactions, and certainly when we compare it to other teams of that size. So, Justin, you mentioned that there are 6 people on your team.
Yeah.
Are we talking about 6 agents?
No.
Okay.
So there are 4 agents. Justin doesn't sell, so we don't really count.
We don't count Justin. Got it. Okay.
And then we have, yeah, exactly.
Like the Queen of England. Got it. Okay.
Yeah, so we have a full-time admin and then the 4 agents. And my focus is really generating opportunities for the agents to work with and being on the day-to-day transactions. So I'm every client every step of the way.
Okay.
And with
So really, we've got two kind of buyers agents, if you will, that we send leads out to, and we don't do a lot of internet lead. We can talk about where we get our leads, but it's a very relation-driven scenario. So our agents really have to be. You talk about hiring the culture; they have to be very quick connectors with our sphere of influence because these are referrals. These are coming from other agents around the nation. That quick connection is big for us. So.
Okay. And you had also mentioned this customer service item, which we agree is a big deal. And the more systemized, the more processed, in some cases even the more automated that system can be, the more successful you'll be. And we talk about this. We actually talk about it on a number of levels. I know there's some content about it in our book, Just the Tips. But I think it's important to understand that there are businesses way outside of the scope of real estate, mortgages, insurance, etc. Like you guys had mentioned, restaurants, where there are just constant opportunities to see and model and mimic great customer service experiences, great customer interactions. We talk about Starbucks, right? In our book and in our coaching. It's the same cup of coffee in every location. The system is really automated. The tech is unbeatable. The environment is synonymous in every store, free Wi-Fi, so on and so forth. And those kinds of little nuances you guys could actually pick up, and I'm not talking to Justin and Piper, I'm talking to you guys watching, you can actually pick up all these little nuances that you can then translate and apply to your business that are going to help excel and propel your customer's experience, that customer service experience where they want to have it. I want to go into Starbucks. I want my mocha. I want my free Wi-Fi. I want the cushy armchair. I want the fireplace, whatever the case may be. And there are a number of ways to exercise those types of things in your real estate practice, in your mortgage practice, in your insurance practice, whatever the case may be, if you just have your eyes and ears open to really great businesses taking those steps to ensure a fantastic customer experience. So guys, tell us, in those travels, and you're obviously seeking out those kinds of experiences, what have you picked up on that you've been able to translate into your business?
You guys went by New York.
Yeah, so we went to New York last year, New York City for my birthday, July 19th. The heat index was 106. Don't go there. It was dumb.
It was really hot.
Yeah.
Wow.
But one thing, there's two experiences from that. One is we stayed at the Four Seasons. We had some free nights, and so we stayed at the Four Seasons, and beautiful hotel, gorgeous experience. I mean, it's the same every time, and that's one of the things the Starbucks experience, right, is replicatable. But they take it, and we study the 6 human needs. And for us, the first human need is certainty. And I think that's where most service lies is you know what you're going to get, you know the experience, you know the armchair, you know the fireplace, you know the mocha. All that stuff is the same, but it's the uncertainty that I think where service really lies. It's the things that are unexpected. And for us, when we were at the Four Seasons, the guy could see, the doorman could see that we were going to the Rockies Yankees game. We were going to take the subway all the way
to Yankee Stadium. Wow.
Another bad idea.
No, it was so bad. We got stuck in that thing for an hour. I knew I didn't want to go on it, but we went on it. But he could tell when we were talking to him, he was very perceptive, and I think that's where service really starts is the absolute listen, but listen more with your ears, listen with your body, listen with what the other person is telling you with their body and their body language. And so he picked quickly up on the fact that I was not excited about walking to a subway station that I didn't know where it was. I just didn't want to. It's just easier for me to Uber or taxi, right? And he said, "Well, it's super easy, and I think you'll find it a benefit to go on the train." Fair enough. So we went back up to our room for a few minutes and laying there trying to cool down after the 106 degrees, the door knocked. And it was interesting. We got up like, oh, what's this about? And it was the doorman. And he came up with printed directions on how to get exactly to the subway station. And he knew that, like, for me, technology was not my thing. Right? He could already tell. So to go and print off the instructions, the directions on how to walk there, I felt like the oldest man in town. But he spoke directly to me, and that was important. And he could have told me anything at that point. His credibility was on full point, right? And so that is something else. Our other really big focus there was we wanted to go to 11 Madison, which is one of the best restaurants in the world. It is top rated all the time, and it's quite an experience. You have to book it 3 months in advance, and you only have like a 2 hour window to book time. And so we booked time. And when we walked into the restaurant, two things happened. Number one, we walked into the restaurant and they graciously welcomed us by saying, Mr. and Mrs. Knoll, welcome to 11 Madison. Now, this is the experience that we're all used to. The certainty is you walk in and they say, what? How many?
How many in your party?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it was a completely different experience. I don't know if they studied us on social media. I'm sure they did.
Absolutely.
There's a redheaded fat dude coming in with a pretty blonde. That's the Knowles, right? And so that really just set the tone for the night. It was more than the food that was the experience. It was the entire interaction with the staff. And the next piece was there was an empty box sitting on a table, this beautifully hand-painted wood box. And it was just sitting on the table. We didn't know anything about it, what it was for. And they came and welcomed us and took our drink order. Didn't say anything about the box the first time. The second time they came back, the anticipation had built, and they said, I'm sure you're wondering what this box is about. Well, of course we are. We didn't know what it was, right? That was the uncertainty. The certainty was they were going to come take our drink order and we were going to get a layout of what we were going to eat. The uncertainty was this. And so they said, well, this was hand-painted by a famous artist in the neighborhood. And she wanted to be a part of our community and really connect everybody. So this box is our offering. If you would like to put your cell phones in it for your experience here, we will take it back to the back and secure it in a locker, and you don't have to worry about your phone for dinner.
That's interesting. Wow.
Right? And so it's things like that where we just really key in on, we go to, I shop at Nordstrom, it's the same replicatable, scalable service, right? They walk around, shake your hand, say your name, and hand you your bag. It's the same thing every time. And that's really what's key to our service commitment is every time, same service, no matter the price, no matter the client. That's really what we key in on.
And it sounds to me like a lot of what you're picking up on and subsequently putting back out is this human connection. That you're trying to learn what you can about your clientele, that you want it to be a personal and personable experience, and that it's bringing warm fuzzies. It literally is. You guys got them at 11 Madison. You were absolutely enthralled that they knew who you were the moment you walked in the door.
Yeah.
Totally. And to us, it's about creating a great experience for our clients without them expecting it. I think that people come into this process knowing that it's going to be really stressful. They've heard the horror stories from their friends and family, but we take an education base to it and really, really help the experience be smooth and easy. And we talk about things that are going to come up through the process. So when they do, it's not, oh my gosh, what is happening right now? So it's a very different approach, and that creates that legacy service, if you will, and that raving fan mentality, which is what we're always after.
These are huge factors. Service, education, these are subjects in the sales process, whether it's real estate, mortgages, etc., that cannot be beat. I'm trying to pause here long enough for our audience to really pick up on that. Those are two of the most important factors when you're dealing with your leads, your clients, your advocates, so on and so forth. So thank you both. That's really invaluable information. Give us a little bit of insight as to what you guys do in your day-to-day routines, particularly when it circumnavigates around lead generation, client retention. Like, what are you guys doing after we're done with the show here today?
Well, we do a lot of stuff as a team together. We're actually volunteering for a project called The Precious Child, an organization that's really cool and kind of helping kids get a leg up when they don't have it. And so we're, as a team, going to volunteer for that for a few hours today. And so that'll be fun. Who knows what will come from that? That's certainly not why we're doing it.
No, and volunteer work is a big, big deal.
It's a huge piece. Part of our grind is we're very involved in the realtor association world. We've done a lot with that for a decade, and that's a big part of what I've done. Well, Piper has taken it to a next level and really has turned that into more business opportunity than I ever did. I've always networked within it, but she goes crazy with it. So we actually spend time connecting with realtors around the nation on a quarterly and monthly basis. We market to other realtors around the nation, and it's what we'll probably do 30 deals a year at least, 30 transactions that are just referrals from realtors that are vetted, ready to go, simple leads, no questions asked. So that's a big part of what we do is just spending time on the phone, social media, emailing, connecting in networking groups with other professionals. We found a nice little niche in
It's fantastic. And we talk about it a lot that colleagues should be in your contact database for a good number of reasons. One, they can be a great resource. Two, we all know the stats that 80% of real estate agents are out in a very short time frame. They still need to buy and sell houses. They still know people who need to buy and sell houses. These can be amazing advocates, particularly if it's something where you are mentoring, and we know that you do. Um, and I want to point out, because you weren't able to see it, we'll put the video together when we're done here. But you're going to love the way Piper looked at you when you called her crazy. That was fantastic. I know you didn't see it, but you will in the replay. Okay. And absolutely, having a B2B relationship like that is crucial. And I I would be willing to say that the majority, if not all, of the really successful agents and teams that we come across have an enormous referral business from other agents. I can't stress enough how valuable that kind of activity, dealing with your colleagues in other parts of the world, is to a long and prosperous real estate practice. No question. So I know that we're going to run out of time, which eventually means we're going to have the two of you back for a sequel. But let's talk a little bit about 2020 and going forward. What do you guys see coming? Do you know of any great tech that we should be using? Tell us how you integrate your processes with the iBuyer platform. Give us some insight as to what you see coming this year, next year, the next 3 or 5 even.
Sure. For me, this year I think is going to be full of a lot of changes, and I think that for consumers to really have a successful year in real estate, whether they're buying or selling, they need to be educated. So that's kind of a big thing we've worked on is really honing in our systems to make sure we're giving the right value to all of our clients and really getting on top of the things we see coming. The iBuyer situation, I know a lot of people are really nervous about that, but I use it to my advantage all the time. So I'll prepare a offer from one of those companies along with my comparative market analysis to show the differences. And that's helped me a lot with listing presentations, which I think it's something we can all use as a real estate professional. We can go in and request those on behalf of our clients, and I see that really being underutilized. That's kind of my focus this year is to keep using these technologies and things that are coming to kind of, you know, hurt us, if you will, to use those to my advantage. Because again, if we can educate the consumers on these programs and the different opportunities to sell, we have a leg up. I would rather be the professional that's educating them on it versus saying, oh, well, don't look at that, don't worry about that. Because it is something that they're seeing and they're hearing, and there can be great value for the right people on it too.
And we actually discussed this a lot, just coincidentally, at our last roundtable, and that was certainly one of the big topics. And again, this is a room full of top producing agents, so you guys listen to what Piper is saying here. Using the iBuyer platform as an education opportunity, as a potential option for your sellers, is going to provide more value than sticking your head in the sand about it and ignoring them. And we did also have an agent mention, I was working with a buyer on both sides. They were selling and buying. And the third-party buyer on the sell side fell through at the last minute. Earnest money had already gone hard. Contingent, he couldn't close on the new one without selling the old one. Got an iBuyer to step in, immediately take that property off their hands, saved both transactions. So yeah, I don't have any concerns. I think the iBuyer platform can be a great tool, can actually help you enhance and grow your business. My concerns lie more in the fact that they are being treated as fintech companies, as financial technology companies, so they're not bound by the rules, regulations, moral standards, ethical standards that you and I are all required to abide by, make sure that we're actually looking out for our clients' best interests because they are their client and looking out for their own best interests. So that's the only part of it that really concerns me when it comes to that platform.
That's a great point, and I think that that's where agents have a huge opportunity to get ahead of this too. Because if we can explain that, yes, if you want to buy one of these Zillow homes or Open Door homes, that's great. They're available to you. They don't have a seller's property disclosure. There's no one that's responsible for what happened to that property before. So the liability down the road doesn't exist where it does on a standard transaction. So that's an opportunity for us to make an impact too on the consumers.
Oh, that's a big deal. I hadn't thought about it from the buy side. That's really sharp, Piper. Thank you. Hopefully our audience picks up on that too, because that may be the first time that we've actually thought about it from the buy side. We usually obviously contemplate it from the sell side. So yeah, that is invaluable information right there. All right, so I know that we're gonna do this. Jen, make sure we get Justin and Piper back on the show. But between now and we talked about how far out we're booked, so it's going to be a while. Let's make sure that there are some things that our audience understands about the two of you and your business and what that means for them. You guys have a great operation. It's a fantastic team, culture centric, fantastic location. Let's not deny. For those of you local, Justin and Piper are sitting in their Cherry Creek office. There are a number of them around town, and I can speak from a personal level. If I had the opportunity to spend hours and hours a day, dozens of them a week with either of them, it would be a fantastic opportunity. So Justin, if somebody were interested in joining your team, how would they reach out to you?
Yeah, just hit us up. You can just do team@theknollteam.com. You can email us or Justin at the Knoll Team or Piper at the Knoll Team. Pretty original. Yeah. So you can check us out on social media. We don't do, Piper and I are not social media junkies like a lot of people. We
Guilty.
Spark that out. It's just.
Oh, so do I. Her name is Jen, and you can see her on your screen right there. Yeah.
We've got so great. But yeah, I think just email us. You can go to our website, theknollteam.com. Check out a couple things I would say to get to know more about us or where we see this business going and how teams are going. Check out our website, theknollteam.com, or YouTube. We have a YouTube channel. We've been doing videos for about 7-8 years heavily. Yes, we've kind of fallen off, but we're bullish on video. We're bullish on systems, and you'll see that come through. And we did some agent bio videos last year that turned out phenomenal. So if nothing else, go to our website and check those out and kind of get some ideas and inspiration. But just speaks to you being you, not you being somebody else.
Ah, that's the important part. For all of you watching, you only have two jobs. Make sure everybody you know, everybody knows who you are and what you do, and what you do is easy. People don't know you're in real estate, you're already failing. So let people know who you are, no question. And since a lot of our viewership ends up being consumer-based, Piper, if somebody wants to buy or sell a house, how can they reach you?
Email Piper at the Knoll Team, or you can reach me on Facebook, or you can call me. I actually will always answer my phone unless I'm in a meeting.
Give us the number.
720-935-0895. Okay. And if we're not traveling or with a client, we always answer our phones. My children make fun of me all the time for it because I get stuck on some really interesting phone calls. But yeah, that's how you find me.
There you go.
That's funny. So now there are multiple generations of people making fun of real estate agents in Denver with the phone calls that they're taking. We already talked about Justin's mom and now you. So perfect. That's good stuff. All right. Well, again, thank you guys so much for joining us. I've been looking forward to this episode for a long time, and now really excited to do a sequel and have you guys back on the show sometime later this year because the content is robust. Yeah. You guys could probably educate us and our audience for hours and hours to come. So thank you both so much for joining us this morning.
Absolutely. absolutely.
All right. And for those of you watching, of course, if you want to get more information about the show, if you want to see past episodes, if you want to be a guest on the show, if you want to get a copy of our book, Just the Tips, then use that text code scrolling at the bottom of your screen. Text TIPS to 63566. And Jen, anything you want to interject before we let Justin and Piper go do their volunteer work?
I was just thinking hopefully next time we can dig into your marketing some more. So I'm really interested in knowing what specifically you guys do for marketing and your other outreaches you do at the team. So next time.
Hear, hear. That will be good fodder for that episode. All right. Well, thank you all for joining us, and we will see you guys next week.
Bye.
Bye, guys.